means. Like, how do
They
they
make a pig fly?
Yeah. Is that just put it into a little sliding board that shoots them, like one of those human cannons?
Like a slingshot?
Yeah. What's the best way for that to actually, like, what do you think? Jet, rocket, or
It's like catapult. It's like a little
catapult?
slingshot. Little slingshot with the flying pig.
I want to know if pigs.
It's like oh my god, what was that? What was the game? The game for a long time.
Goat
We shot
Simulator?
birds.
Oh. Duck
Angry
Hunt.
Birds.
Duck. Oh.
Sad as Angry
I don't know.
Pigs. You ever play Angry Birds?
No, I played Angry Birds.
Okay, a little slingshot with the birds, but you do it by this little flying pig. It's a whole new app. We've created a whole new app.
When
in
pigs
this
fly?
format. With pig flying, it'll be the new one.
The newest hotness.
It'll be the newest hotness, right? It's just like
Yeah.
Flappy Bird. It'll be there and then it'll be gone. Maybe Flappy Pig. See, I've already got
Flappy Pig. I'm
Flappy
sure. I
Pig.
feel like that was already done. Anyways,
I got a whole laundry list of ideas here. We are live. We're here, episode 3.
yes.
We're doing the thing.
Yeah. Episode 3.
Garrett,
Welcome to the
Cody.
podcast.
Yeah, welcome to the podcast. Glad to have you guys here, wherever you are. Good morning, good evening, good night, good
Good hello.
good
It's
lunch.
morning somewhere.
The lunch hour. Someone's having a drink or a sandwich.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, we have our episode for today, discussing about our topics at hand. I guess I'll start with my topic. Yeah. And
Yeah.
then just dive in
You-
deep into it.
Yeah. You're a big internet guy, some would say.
I'm a big.
You've been on the
big
internet.
I've been on the internet. I've got deep.
Okay.
Got deep in the webs.
Surface level internet?
Nah. We gotta like scuba dive.
Right. So
Get that patty cert.
your idea for
really
what you want to talk about, it came out of your deep, hyper-focused knowledge of streaming.
Streaming. Yes.
That's what I got.
I'm
out of
glad
all
that
this.
sentence ended there.
I truly don't know. I truly don't know what his topic is. So I'm curious. All I know is that it's something about streaming, and that
it's
in the history of it?
talking mainly about the history of streaming. Wait, that's how we're gonna start
the
this.
full synopsis of
Yeah,
streaming.
it's
Can
gonna
you
be,
please summarize?
What was the there was a show called The History of the World. You do the history of the internet. First
Oh,
there
yeah.
was the world, and then came the dinosaurs, right? No, my topic this week is talking about IRL streaming, how it took over the internet, where it's gone, where it's going, where it's going to end up, mainly discussing all that. So tell about it. So about IRL streaming.
IRL streaming. Okay.
Yeah, IRL streaming quietly took over the internet.
Wait. Pause. What is a
IRL in real life.
stream? I'm kidding. I'm not gonna go that deep.
What is a stream?
Yeah. What would you
We
consider?
gonna go that deep?
No. So let's talk about just categories. So obviously there are different
Categories.
ways to stream, and people stream in different topics or genres. Basically, what is IRL streaming?
So, IRL streaming is the idea that you are streaming what is around you, whether that's in studio or at your house or on the street.
Okay.
IRL is short for in real life.
Okay.
So, in real life can mean a whole lot of things. I think when it originally came around, when people were talking about it on Twitch, it kind of originated as just chatting. So just chatting was that you had circa, and this is probably like after Justin TV, but before like Twitch was like Twitch now,
The hotness.
the hotness, that people would go and they would either stream a game, and if they decide not to stream a game, but they just want to go live and talk to their audience, they would do so. They would just go live, have a camera, sit in the room, talk about whatever was on their mind, and that kind of spurred from that idea to, well, what if I took this on the street? And by on the street, I mean in places that you wouldn't normally think of, in a shopping center, in a mall, at a park, on the lake, in a field,
Yeah.
in a
Just whatever.
cave.
Whatever.
I don't know.
Wherever.
Yeah, whatever, wherever that it was meant to be that you could deploy there. I
Right.
think that also had something to do with some of the technology being able to catch up with people wanting to do some of those things. I think some of it also was accelerated by the pandemic. But at the end of the day, IRL is all about streaming in the moment. You don't really have an agenda other than just talking to your chat and walking them through wherever
Mhm.
you are or wherever you're going. So IRL now, can very much look everything in between, and even some of the people that we've worked with going to Mudfest, which is like a BMX bike skater
Yeah.
show in the middle
Swamp
of Florida.
Swamp Fest.
Swamp Fest. Yep, that's it.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Nick. So Swamp Fest, which was mud and bikes and
Yeah.
ramps and stuff in a boombox.
Yeah.
With a bunch of people hanging out in Florida. It could be somebody roaming the halls of TwitchCon. It could be somebody going in clubbing in Singapore. It could be somebody gambling in a casino. There,
It could be almost anything, basically.
Yeah, it can be quite almost
because
anything.
all of those different topics could have been considered like their own category. So it's more or less,
Yeah.
would this be like a catch-all for just people wanting to show off what they're doing in the moment?
Well, no, because there's some of it's categories of it. So IRL just basically became just chatting, but not at home, almost in a sense.
Oh, IRL. Okay, so you're meaning like it's gone from just chatting and it's morphed
Yeah.
just chatting into like walking around.
Yeah, it evolved. It evolved from the original. You had Twitch used to be mainly around gaming,
Yeah.
and then majority of people, probably circa less 2016, right? Like 2011, 2000, anywhere between 2000 to 2016, or maybe even I would say 2010 was majority of like gaming focused content. And
Yeah.
then there became a migration of people who were moving away from just the gaming content, even though a majority of it, to more of like these other just chattings. And now it has kind of blown up as a topic. There's still a lot of gaming, but about 20% of Twitch, Kick, these type of platforms have just chatting as their element.
20%? Wow.
There's over, I think the last time I read it was over 800 million hours watched on that topic, and it's growing. So it's definitely a more followed, and it's one of the biggest categories now on these platforms.
Interesting.
In gaming. If you look at like Counter-Strike and like LOL, for instance, League of Legends, I think one of them does 60 million and then one of them does like 90 million. So, and then I think just chatting does something like 200 to 300 million a month.
Yeah. I had no
So
idea it was so large.
They are now bigger than the amount of watch hours that you see on esports. It's very, very big now. And I think a lot of it's spurred from pandemic.
Yeah.
Obviously, you had people who were kind of moving and migrating over from those times, and then streamers found this way to use this bidirectional medium to build content that was beyond gaming. But then when it was during the pandemic, and then everyone was sent home, I think it forced a lot of people to try different mediums because they couldn't go out and talk to people like they would go to at typical events. So a lot of musicians, a lot of artists, a lot of streamers, creators, businesses, and brands started using live streaming as this medium to communicate with others. And then I don't think it's stopped. Like when I think of some of the people who are really trying to push IRL to almost like its limits, I think of some of the people who did a lot of like the DJ live streams from circa 2020 to 2023. There was an artist named Suat who he would go and DJ from like the canals of the UK and in France and stuff like that. He would go and take his little DJ board and he would walk into a mall.
Yeah.
And he would DJ and like DJ for other people and walk down the street, and that became like his IRL stream.
Yeah.
And
I feel like I've seen generally when I go to any of these streaming platforms, the majority of like the people on the carousel at the top, it feels like
IRL.
are IRL streamers.
Well, look at like Kai Cenat. Look at like some of the big ones. Like Kai Cenat did Mafiathon, right? Mafiathon is by all sense considered a just chatting IRL stream, right?
What is Mafiathon for those that don't know?
Mafiathon was Kai Cenat's subathon. So a subathon is where you keep streaming to get a certain amount of stubs until it stops.
Yeah.
So you have like, hey, I want to get 1 million subs, and at that point, I turn off the camera.
So if somebody subscribes and pays them money, they get added time to how long they have to stay live?
Yes. Okay. So they would. So Kai Cenat did that. He gained a lot of notoriety doing that. There's a lot of brands. So the first one, he kind of had his own creators and his own people and friends that he had on Mafiathon for the first one. did relatively well. When he's done 2 and 3, a lot of brands and other people have hopped on the bandwagon to be a part of it. I'm pretty positive we covered that in a previous podcast where it was at Lincoln Park did a one with Kai Cenat.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
So they had Lincoln Park, and he blew up his house or blew up a room that looked like his house,
With Mr. Beast, I
Mr.
remember that. Yeah.
Beast, and he did a bunch of other stuff for Mafiathon. Right? He had Kim Kardashian in the ad for it, the trailer. At the end of the day, it was a stream of him basically like hanging, talking with people, having musicians, having stuff in his house. That was a look into Kai's like real life, and that's ultimately what generated a bunch of dollars for him. And now a lot of that has been learned and has ultimately been taken on the road. If you
Yeah.
look at a lot at like
Well, he did a streamer school kind of thing, like trying to teach people what he did, right?
he did that once, I think. I don't know if he did it a second time.
I don't
think he just
know.
did it once.
I remember that there was an insane amount of people that signed up to be accepted into the like academy or whatever they called it, and only 100 maybe or 150, somewhere in that range, got hand selected
Yeah.
to be brought to be on this streamer academy thing, which I find interesting because Kai Cenat is incredibly talented, obviously.
Sure.
If you watch anything live streaming nowadays, he's pretty much at the top or has been at the top for a while.
Mhm.
And theoretically, you can think of it like he's definitely got a great team backing him,
Yep.
but also what he's doing, the barrier to entry is it's not that hard. You don't have to go to school for it for like 10 years to
Well,
be
that's what
similar to
IRL, I think that's the idea. Sorry to cut you off.
It's okay.
The idea of IRL is meant to be around is this low form factor, high authenticity, authentic
Mm.
like result.
That was
to your
what
point.
that's what I want to talk about is like,
Okay.
why do you think it's so popular? Do you think it's because of like the fact that it mirrors what you would want out of your own life in a way? Like a
Well,
parasocial kind of thing, or because it's massive, right? Like
Yeah.
Mafiathon, all of these subathons that these creators are doing are huge. And like something so captivating about just watching somebody just be real and be there in front of you, being normal or being an elevated version of themselves.
Yeah.
What do you think catches that attention so well?
I think it's the growth of the younger audiences looking for authentic abilities to connect with creators or influencers.
Mhm.
I think that I've always said that live streaming is a bidirectional medium in which you're creating a thing that people are interacting with, and it's constantly changing and morphing with that feedback in real time. I think that ever since you look at like Twitch Plays Pokemon, or you look at some of these other groundbreaking live streams that have happened, I think that it makes at the end point of the influencer or the quote unquote celebrity more approachable, more
Mhm.
interactable with than something like a movie or a sport, which is that's where it all boils down to is access. But it doesn't take a lot in this day and age to get access.
No.
People with a webcam and a microphone, like I have right now, can go on the internet and then
Yeah.
access the world. And I think that's what ultimately became the reason why IRL started becoming a thing, is because people found that they didn't just have to go play video games. It's almost the idea of that you had like esports, and then you had people who played esports because they were good at the sport, and then
Right.
you had people who played the games because they were funny and they got followings.
Right.
And I think that if you can be funny playing a game, you can also funny not be playing a game.
Right.
And I think that's kind of where the natural evolution kind of evolved to. That then people could go and pursue their own arts, their own interests, and
Yeah.
build a community outside of it. And then I think that the pandemic accelerated that.
Mm. You know what I think?
What's up?
I think it spawned from the same amount of movement that people saw when there were content creators on places like YouTube, just when they started spinning up daily vlogs,
Sure.
like the Casey Neistat or any of those family vloggers, basically where they were trying to just bring people into their day-to-day lives and show them what it's like to be a part
Vloggers
of
or
their
vloggers?
family. Vloggers. Sorry.
Vloggers. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, forget it. Video. Eats. I don't know, it's probably not Eats, but there's this vlogger that was in a band, and he vlogged for like, I don't know, maybe a decade straight, and he had such a hardcore following. And then at some point, there was a technology shift or a paradigm shift within culture that shifted everybody away from watching these vlogs to watching people doing it live. Like I remember, I think
Okay.
you mentioned at some point Periscope. I'm not sure.
Yep.
I think it was around the time that that technology kind of came
When did
out.
Periscope come out?
Oh, I don't know. I think it was.
It was like circa
I'm gonna guess
2013, 14.
14. That's
Yeah,
my
and
guess.
then Twitter bought it, right?
Was it Twitter?
Yeah.
Oof.
And then, well, Twitter X now, but yeah,
Right.
it was Periscope was its own thing. It was a live stream platform, and then it was bought by Twitter. And then, oh, there you go. Bought by X on 2021 or formerly
Bought
Twitter.
by them in 2021. Does
So
it show when
then-
it came
and
out?
then-
Because I think that was the real kind of shift in culture. 2015.
Periscope.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay.
Jeez. I only knew a little bit about it. I just remember that was kind of like the first thing where I saw people just like showing off how they are in real life.
Did you watch live streams on Periscope?
I didn't. I watched people talk. I
Mm.
watched vlogs of people talking about people that they watched on on
I
Periscope.
never watched on Periscope. Maybe I did. I don't think I did. I was mainly I started getting involved around the Twitch, Facebook Live, Instagram Live era where people were starting to do like they knew of live streaming, but they didn't really know how to go and do it. I think
Yeah.
I think ultimately, actually, to your point, I think IRL became more popular once those live streaming apps were able to live stream from your phone.
I mean, that's what that was. Periscope. It wasn't. I think that didn't they get in trouble just because it was basically an app that doxed you? Wasn't that
I
the
had
original intent of the
no-
design? Is that it like showed your location while you're
I
streaming,
did not
more
know
or
that.
less?
If that is true, that's crazy.
Nick, I'd love for you to look that up. I don't know if that's true or not, but if we could look up if Periscope was involved with doxing people, I think that might have been
Periscope
the end of
involved
it.
with doxing people.
Anyways, that's an aside. Yeah, I think that it is when it came to apps mostly when
Yeah.
they made it readily accessible, like within YouTube Live
Sure.
or Twitch or any of these.
If you look at like, so a good example of one of those is Versus, which was where they were doing Instagram rap battles, and
Oh,
that
yeah.
very much became something that a group did, and then they sold it to one. They ended up doing so well with it, they sold it to either Triller or another major app to have it there.
Yeah.
But it was they just would go and have the camera phone send out. They'd have the mics go into it. They would just do these rap battles, and people would vote on who was the winner. And they didn't have access to a lot of the fancy technology. They just did it through the phone. And I think that's where having direct access to your following and then doing these lives is where it kind of spurred more of the IRL. And then now the technology's caught up with it. You have people like iShowSpeed who are traveling the world. They're using cellular bonding, and they're setting these encoders out, and they're interacting with other cultures, and people want to be involved with that and chat with him and engage in those places. It's where ultimately where it's gone now. And I see where it's probably going to head is that it's turning into live shopping is where a lot of IRL is kind of moving to.
Like
Is
with
that-
TikTok shop kind of idea.
Yeah.
Can you walk me through that? Because I have avoided downloading TikTok, and I've not used
You've
any shop.
you've not downloaded TikTok.
I've downloaded it, but I don't use it. I've probably opened it less than 15 times total since it came out.
Times total.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I don't know anything truly about TikTok shop, but I've heard about it.
I mean, TikTok is a vertical platform. Obviously, you scroll through and you find videos. There's a whole area for TikTok Live. There's whole creator communities that have made all of their money off of just simply going live and having their followers send them stars or, widgets or
I've seen some
bits.
memes.
TikTok's versions of bits
Yeah.
that they're able to generate money.
The NPC meme, remember that when that happened with TikTok? I heard about that. It was like when
NPC meme?
people were like saying voice lines or whatever whenever somebody sends a small, tiny little donation, they would have to say a specific phrase based on the amount that they had sent. And it was memed out the wazoo because, because it would just basically turn them into NPCs at the beck and call of anybody that was willing to send them 10 cents.
The ones that I
It was
saw,
truly awful.
It was crazy. Yeah.
The one that I saw, or the ones that I've seen, is that people will head into live streams. They'll do them in other countries where it would be like, send me. They would go and have like a thing of balloons. Where they would have like marbles, and then they would have a stairwell, and then be like, if you send me $3, I will put more marbles down the stairwell, or like balloons and that.
Mm-hmm.
And so they just were like money making live streams that people would just go and watch, and then you specifically would donate money because something would happen on the other end that would happen live. So if it was like a mouse trap, they'd be like, if you pay $5, the mouse trap will go off and pop a balloon. And so people will spend money on that. And that has been something that's at its purest form of live streaming. That's ultimately what people are like wanting to explore and being around. So where that ends up coming to is live selling, where TikTok Shop becomes an area where people can go and sell and be like, I have this hat, and look at how great this hat is. And for $5.99, you too can get your own hat. And then a graphic pops up, and they can go buy their hat, right? And so where that ends up going is that you have a lot of people who are heading into now who are doing these IRL ideas, but they're live shopping. So it's like, here in my house, this is what I have. I'm selling silver. I'm doing gold, or I have a collectible, or I'm doing Pokemon cards, or I'm magic cards, or old video games, clothes, whatever you can like think of. That's ultimately where we see it heading.
Yeah.
As people seek and want these more authentic connections, they're gonna start driving to these more of these places. And as AI slop tends to get worse and worse about what is considered not real and then what is considered real, that those type of things will be the only areas of authenticity left on the internet where people can have true connections with people other than live events.
Yeah, but then it's like, oh, how authentic is it actually? Because they're actually just trying to sell me a product. Also, there's that aspect of it too. You know what I mean?
I mean, you're not wrong.
Like when I was watching these old vlogging channels on YouTube, it was never me thinking, oh, they're trying to sell me their hoodie or their subscription to their masterclass.
But they're selling you the idea of traveling.
Possibly.
Right?
Or they're just trying to create engagement so that the advertisers that are putting the advertisements over their videos are, they're getting income from that.
But you watch them because they're traveling. So like,
no, actually, no.
No,
a lot of people watch them specifically because they enjoyed their dynamic. They're like whatever they had going on, or they had their interesting niche that they fell into. Like if they had a large farm that they would shoot their vlogs from or something like that, and they could have fun on the farm. Or if they're in a band, you can kind of watch them go throughout their life as a band person. That was a lot of what drew me to watching people in vlogging circumstances. Or if it was like a Casey Neistat, where his creativity and ability to capture shots were so unique and unfathomable for the platform at the time. That's kind of what drew in the audience, I think, for the most part. But then it got so washed out that everybody was trying to do the same thing. Everybody was trying to show off how cool they are with their own personal niche, that it got oversaturated. And then now it's shifted from that to live streaming, and then now from live streaming to IRL streaming, and then possibly from that to trying to sell a product using their IRL stream. In a way, is what you're. I assume. I think that's what I'm getting out of it.
Okay, yeah, I'm kind of alluding to that. Is that it's just people want more authentic. They want the more authentic connection with the creator, no matter what that ultimately looks like. The live feedback is just a vehicle in which that can be done faster.
I have an example.
Okay.
Essentially, when I'm scrolling on YouTube Shorts, there's this guy that's like, here's my weekly Amazon finds. Here's a trash can, blah, 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 blah. It's really unauthentic because he's just, you can buy it through my Amazon link in the description. It's really just like him just trying to drop ship stuff. There's another guy who buys all these like different cooking pans. And you know how like all these companies are like, our nonstick pan will last 1,000,000 years. He actually does it. He'll buy with his own money all the nonstick pans and test them scientifically and use them as
think I
his
watched that
personal
one.
pans. Yeah.
That was a good one.
Prudent Reviews, I think, is the name.
Yep.
And he will like do scientific tests, and it makes me want to buy those products.
Yep.
But it's authentic.
Yep.
It's authentic tests rather than, hey, I found this on Amazon this week. You should go find
Yeah.
it as well.
Have you seen the one that he does ones for the lawnmowers, and then he does ones for power drills and like car jumpers? It's the same.
Project
scientific-
Farm.
Is it
The old
Project Farm?
the older gentleman that sounds like he's like yelling at all times.
Yeah, but he
Yes.
like goes through like 30 different pieces.
Fantastic
He's like,
content.
I'm just gonna run through all of it. I'm using a voltmeter. I'm gonna say exactly like how they're different, how they run out. Like,
Yeah.
And the thing is he doesn't care whether it's an expensive device or not, and he never sponsors any of it. He's like, this is all stuff that I've bought. It's independent reviewed. Like, this is what I found, and this is where I would rank them. And sometimes like the cheapo peepo device would be the thing that wins, like across value and actually like power delivery. I've used that a couple times to.
I
different
trust
ones.
Project Farm with my life.
Amazing. Y'all's feeds are way different than mine. Mine is like, let's screw these two power drills together and make them fight
I
each
see
other
that
at
too.
full speed.
I've seen that too.
Yeah,
Well-
that's like most of what mine is. I'm just
Is-
sitting over there brain rotting slowly.
I mean, hey, those are still fun too. Don't get me wrong. I
I don't
like to
know
watch
how
the power drill study.
scientifically they help prove the viability of one over the other. In my case,
That's my short
to be
form.
fair.
To be fair,
Yeah,
my short form looks like that. My
Yes.
long form looks a lot different than my short form.
yeah.
My verticals is just feral.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
It really just devolves.
Real drills.
Yeah. Well, I did want to ask about with live streaming and IRL streaming. You mentioned your how people are like taking around the equipment with them, and it's not just on their phone.
Yeah.
Like, why do you think that people need to take equipment around with them versus trying to stream from their phone? Is that something that is barrier to entry, would you say? Or is it something that is just like to make sure that there's security and redundancy in their stream to make it a better quality product? Like, what circumstance would you have a creator use their phone versus a backpack, I guess?
Your friendly neighborhood engineer over
Mr.
here who's been
Sir
doing
Nick.
this can maybe answer that.
Yeah.
Phones are great. It is not a barrier in entry. Everybody has a phone.
Mm.
Everybody has a phone that can stream. Everybody can do it. But will it look good? That's the question.
Will it hold up?
That's the next question. Will it look good? Will you be able to go to Swamp Fest and keep your data plan going? Because your phone can only have one data plan at a time. So can you keep that up?
True.
You're using your phone's camera. How well is your phone? How good is your phone's camera?
Yeah.
Do you know the settings on your phone camera? Nobody does. They point and click. I did that all weekend.
Yeah.
But once you start leveling up, you get those extra things. You get the redundancy of extra cell phone plans. You get the redundancy of having a better camera just in general. Like a proper camera where you know the settings and you can adjust them and stuff. That's what I find. There's no barrier to entry. There is a barrier to entry when you want to start upgrading and when you want to level up and take it to that next level.
So then you just need the following to support it.
Exactly.
Interesting. So when we work with clients, we will often highly suggest against using, I think, phones for that kind of stuff, right?
Sure.
Just simply because of the amount, like the quality control of the product that we're giving them to use.
Yeah.
You know, there's not much that you can actually change within your phone, and there's a lot more risk when you're going out to a large event and you're connecting to the same tower as like 200 to 1,000 to more than that people, it's high likelihood that you're going to have a terrible time connecting to that tower and just connecting to the internet in general. Nevertheless, trying to upload that data and live stream from that device as well. So I think like combining all of these different technologies to allow us to have a more stable stream that can be controlled, have some redundancy, some backups, it's probably pretty useful for the future as we see it. I think this is going to be a realm that kind of explodes probably when it comes to devices designed specifically around IRL streaming. I don't know if you would agree or disagree, but I could see a lot more manufacturers trying to come up with, I don't know, like YOLO blocks is out there. InStream, is that one of, that's what they call, right?
InStream is their TikTok version,
Yeah, I could
an
see,
Instagram version.
yeah, well, more companies I could see them coming up and trying to manufacture device specific things that allow them to utilize multiple carriers to get a better cellular connection, or attach your own camera to the box that lets you stream from that camera instead of your phone camera, something you have a little bit more control over, like a GoPro instead. I don't know. So I just thought that was something that I could see in the future coming to fruition somewhat quickly.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean that I agree. I think that as people go more into IRL, they're going to need more. They're going to need more support with higher quality, higher fidelity, more reliable equipment
Right.
as they grow and mature.
I'd say that's super important for brands too that seek to sponsor a content creator as well. Like if you're a brand that's trying to sponsor a content creator and you're going to put all of your money towards them, putting on a good show for you and your brand, I think it's essential that you have something that's of a higher quality. Because if you look at any of these creators like Kai Cenat or a Ludwig or anybody within that upper echelon of stardom, basically, or fandom, you'll notice that. Well, actually, you won't notice, and that's the crazy part, is that all of the equipment that they're using is much more expensive than entry level for sure. So like if you were a brand trying to suggest that you were to go and have a Ludwig or Kai Cenat or an Aisha Speed or Mr. Beast or name them all, trying to suggest that you basically do a brand campaign with them, you're going to have to go into it knowing that there's going to be a little bit more of a cost because the reliability that they've put and invested into, it's going to have to be there for the stream to be successful in my mind. Like I watched, I think it was Ludwig do a stream. It might have been with like GM. It was a car brand, I think. And they were just doing like a relay race kind of tag slash, not tag, but it was, anyways, they were having to drive around town constantly, but they were also going between multiple cars and switching between multiple cars while doing it, all utilizing somebody just kind of walking around with them on a backpack. And I thought that was incredibly interesting. And that's definitely way above the standard barrier of entry. But I guess what I'm alluding to is I think that this is something that brands are going to start utilizing much more frequently. Like having them, hey, have at it. You're going to have this backpack. You're going to wear it. You're going to go crazy. Every once in a while, I just want you to brush your teeth with our toothbrush and show it off.
On their IRL stream, they're going to brush their teeth.
Or wear our makeup. Let's put on our makeup today and then show off CoverGirl or whatever the brand is. I could see that kind of happening somewhat soon.
As a more in like day in the life of all of their day, so to speak.
And the reason I mention it is because I don't think, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that there's as much regulation yet or at all around products on a live stream versus on a video that's been produced and edited. Maybe I'm incorrect about that, but as far as I understand, there's not as much disclosure that has to be made up front for branding and like having a deal with a larger brand. You could tell me, I'm not sure, on a live stream versus a video, or Nick, if you could possibly look it up. I don't know. I'm just thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's opportunities for think there's opportunities for brands to get into IRL, and I think that there's opportunities for brands to get into IRL and be engaging using some of those examples that you've used, but you have to be intentional and authentic in how you do it.
Mm.
So
That
when
is
I
kind of a tough
say,
line to
yeah,
skirt.
when creators are, rather if you disclose any sponsorships or paid partnerships during a stream,
A live
so
stream?
you have to show that they're a sponsor. So it looks like then you'd have to go and be really smart with your product placement,
Mm.
and then how you're intrinsically going to bring them in, or you're going to have to use it as like a graphic or something like that. You couldn't just use Colgate every day and then not tell people that you're sponsored by Colgate.
Yeah, just have a
Which is
little bug
also
in
the
the
same
corner.
reason that when we go and do live streams that you're taping the back of the chair.
Yeah, for sake of the brand not being seen.
Yeah, you're taping the chair, you're taping the headphone, you're taping things that we have on the broadcast that is not a sponsored place thing. You're not allowed to have that on the broadcast.
What is that called?
Gaff tape?
No, what is doing that called?
Not getting sued? I don't.
It's called
I don't-
Greeking.
Huh?
Greeking.
Greeking?
Greeking. Define Greeking, please, Nick.
Greeking sounds too freaky for a podcast. Sounds like
We got to Greek up real quick.
Make
sure
Greeking
that-
out.
That's a podcast.
It's
Oh,
a
is it really?
podcast.
Wow, it
Greeking
is.
out is a podcast.
Practice of obscuring or replacing readable text,
Text.
brand names, or logos with unreadable symbols, generic mock text,
Isn't that
or
the same thing as redacting?
I don't know.
I mean,
I
is it
I-
redacting? Redacting is to obscure or replace readable text, brand names with unreadable symbols. You just black it out. Isn't that what redacted means?
obscuring? Yeah,
Well, redacting.
redacting. Yes, for
Yes.
sure.
When you
That's so
redact
right.
something, you're basically saying that, well, I think redacting is doing the same thing, but not allowed to talk about it.
You know what we're not allowed to talk about, guys? We're not allowed to talk about how the fact that game developers. I'm getting us away from this topic. I want
Okay.
to talk about what I want to
Do
talk
it.
about.
Do it.
I want to talk about the fact that I don't know if you guys have heard the news about Bungie and Destiny 2 as of late. I don't know if you guys followed that game at
Yeah.
all. I used to play it a lot.
Destiny 2.
Destiny 2,
You're
right.
Destiny 2.
Destiny
That
2, wonderful game. It's been out for, wow, I feel like it's been a decade at this point. I don't know the exact date of release, but the reason I wanted to talk about them is because they just announced recently that they are going to be shutting down development for the game, which I think
Destiny
is,
2 shutting down?
yeah. So I don't know if they've come out with, I know, it's so sad, so sad. And there's so many dedicated players that love the game
Okay.
and would be willing and love the idea for more releases to happen. But the studios decided that they're going to shut down production for future releases and updates to it.
Oh.
I think they're going to maybe have like one or two more patches just to finalize it and, send it on its merry way. But I mention it because I think that they're doing this in a really great way because they've, just like they have in the past with Destiny 1, they've designed it in a way that the game is going to still be able to be played beyond once it is no longer being updated and patched or have content release schedule
Okay.
on for it. I think that that's incredibly important in today's day and age.
Okay.
And the reason being is that there are companies out there right now, large companies like Ubisoft, maybe EA, I'm not sure. But basically what is occurring is that these game developers are creating games. They're saying that they're going to be the next big thing, AAA, and then they've got millions of people purchasing them, enjoying them, and then a year or two down the line, the game developer just says, we are shutting down our studio or we're shutting down all of our live services for this game. Thank you so much for enjoying it. Have a nice day. And I think that is so, I don't know about your opinion, but that that makes me like clench out of annoyance, out of fear of games that I've grown up loving that are still running and still working perfectly fine.
Sure.
I find that the idea that a game developer can sell you on a product that then is taken away from you after the purchase to be a little bit, it irks me.
So is it so? I'm curious. So what part of it irks you? Is it like you have the single so for most games, you either have like 3 realms, right? You have like a single player campaign, you have a multiplayer campaign, and then you have some of these that are more like open world esque.
Right.
I think of like Burnout Legends or World of Warcraft.
Yes.
Or like I'm trying to even dig deeper than that. Some of the tycoon games, like the movies or other stuff where you had like communities. Are you saying ultimately that they're killing the communities or that they're killing the game?
No,
like
yeah.
first player, all of it, you can't use it. Like, is it
It's a
targeting
good
certain
question.
games?
So it's not a target specific genres of games or anything like that. It's really just the studios stopping the servers from allowing the game to even function or run at all whatsoever. So it could be a single player game. Lots of single player games nowadays require a connection to the internet to even run. It could be a multiplayer game. It could be a MMORPG, like a WoW. What's happening is that when you're signing these terms and conditions and user contracts with these companies, when you're first downloading the game, in them they have these caveats that allow them to have total control over the game even after the purchase of the commodity.
Sure.
So by saying, hey, I'm going to give you $70 for this game, in the past, what that looked like is you went to a GameStop, you bought a brand new game like Battlefront 2, for instance.
Yeah.
You have it. You don't have to patch it. It's just on the CD. Plug it in. It's playable forever. Literally up until the star death or corrosion.
Can't do it on that computer because it's Windows 85 now, and it was only meant to work on Windows 95.
I mean, even still, you can get around that by downloading an older version of Windows.
Yes,
but you know what I'm saying.
But
you know what I'm saying. So that's how everybody has grown up with games and just general goods. Like if you buy something, you own it.
Sure.
I buy a chicken, I own chicken. It give egg, right?
I buy chicken, I own chicken.
Give egg.
Give egg.
Infinite.
If we don't
glitch,
clip
by the way,
that,
guys.
I'm gonna be pissed.
Yeah, so that's the thing is like when you're working with these game companies and they have the ability written into contract that you've agreed to,
yep,
and signed basically stating that they have the ability to stop all services that allow this game to keep functioning.
Sure.
I think that's a scary thing. You're taking the ownership out of the hands of the actual owner, the quote unquote owner of the game, and you're turning it more into a lease. Like I'm going to lease this game and the servers that are hosting it to allow me to continue playing it. But that's only up until they decide to keep the servers running.
Sure. So in your view, what's the line, so to speak? Is it that you bought this game and you have access like and that's why I was trying to use different genres, because I'm trying to think about games that in my history, I know while I'm sad it won't work, there's probably not a time that I'm going to go back to that game, and it would be expensive to hold a server for the 5 people who are going and playing. Because I played a lot of old PC games, like a lot. Right? So the ones that I think about are like the Armored Fist series, where it was very much like a tank war sim game that had single player and multiplayer, but the multiplayer was based on, dial-up internet of like the mid-2000s. I enjoy that game. I like that game. But I would probably still play World of Tanks, and World of Tanks has like servers around it that people actually physically play.
Right.
But I wouldn't want to have to force NovaLogic to be like, hey, I don't even think NovaLogic exists as a company anymore.
Right.
But it'd be like, hey, I bought this game once. You don't have my multiplayer.
Yeah.
Access to a server. Like, how dare you, though?
Yeah. At
what point is it like, okay,
not feasible anymore for the company? Like,
the
if
company
there's
has
only
to keep it going.
Yeah,
right? Like, I think, a lot of people go and feel bad about the Call of Duties and the Halos, where people were playing Halos and then they're like, oh, we're going to kill the servers for it. We're going to move people over to the new Halo,
sure.
and then they would axe them. And then, like, there's people who've talked about, like, Modern Warfare 2, when they shut down the Modern Warfare 2 servers, and it was, like, the last people, and there's videos online of people doing that, right? So where, and this is obviously extending to both of you guys, it's like, where's the line drawn? Is it, like, is there a 20-year moratorium on this, or is it that...
I think it starts from the ground up. The way that the games are being coded and designed for the end user needs to just be changed. And around this topic that I bring up, I wanted to also talk about the Stop Killing Games movement.
Okay.
So basically, the Stop Killing Games movement was put into place by, I forget his name is RoS? I don't remember his name. But it was put into place by a gentleman who's a YouTuber who wanted to combat these gaming companies from stopping services on older or newer games moving forward, so that the player base can continue playing them even if the developer is no longer in the picture whatsoever.
Okay.
So Stop Killing Games is out there trying to create legislation around your question. What is the
Moratorium.
What is
The
the limit
Okay.
for a developer or the owner of the material or the game? What is the limit for the developer to continue support after it's been sold? That's a great question, truly. That is something that legislators have to deal with and are going to have these exact same conversations for years and years. What I would say, my opinion is that I think that the game developer should keep this as a cornerstone to their development from the beginning of development for the game.
Okay.
I think the cornerstone should be that the game can continue beyond the point of which it is no longer supported by the developer. I think that the
It's
game...
no longer supported by the developer.
Correct. They're no longer creating updates. They're no longer creating patches.
So
They're no longer creating... I think that the game should continue to be playable, point blank, one, when they no longer support it or develop for the game.
Okay.
And then two, when you get into the online aspect, which is what you were saying earlier, it gets a little bit hairy, because when you work with proprietary servers and infrastructures that are running these game servers, it's hard for them to allow that to be given to the player base,
Community to support.
because it's proprietary and they don't want to give away any secrets.
Yeah.
That's why I say it needs to start from the ground up when designing these games with this in mind, so that you're not having to give away the sauce or show your recipes for how these servers work. But it can be kind of soft handed off to whatever group is still continuing to love the game that they've been playing for years.
So here's a good example that I'll give of one. I mean, Destiny 2 is obviously a great one, but like Star Wars Squadrons is a really good example of a game that came out in the last 10 years, right? That LucasArts specifically said, we're making this game to essentially kill it. Like, we're making the game that it will have a finite lifespan, that we will not go and put patches. It's not going to be an infinite game. We're not going to be going in and doing a bunch of microtransactions. The game is the game. Here it is. We did 2 big patches of it, and then we're done. Like, we are out. And there was a fervent following around it for a while, until I don't know if the servers are still live for Star Wars Squadrons. I know there was esports that was around it for a little bit. But I guess to you, it's to that point is the developers actively said, this is what we said from the beginning we're gonna do, and then we went out and we did it, and then we went out and we shut it down.
Yeah.
Right. What? It goes back to me, that line then of where it's like, do we feel then the missing piece is that there needs to be almost like an open source game server, kind of like, I don't know, I'm theorizing right now, but it's like a programming language almost, so to speak, when I'm thinking about it, an open source server structure that then these games can be offloaded into, that then local game communities can host.
Absolutely.
So that then they can continue playing these games well after the developers have moved on.
Correct. Yeah.
What does it look like?
I don't know, because I'm not a coder and I don't know server infrastructure. But I can
Yeah.
say that this isn't new. This isn't
Ground.
new terrain. People have been making servers for decades. Like this is something that everybody can do, and they can spin up their own server at their house nowadays, and they can host servers that are allowing people to play these older games, and they're doing that. They've already cracked kind of like that infrastructure to understand how to host a server and then put it up for their friends so that they can keep playing with them beyond the date that the game is no longer supported. So like these things are totally possible. I don't know how to do them, but a lot of the argument that I see online from people are that they're going to be, by opening it up to like possibly hackers, or opening the game up in a way that it's not
You lose competitive
intended.
integrity.
Assuming that there's anything competitive about the game after it's been sunset. Yeah, possibly.
Sure.
I'd say that the concern from the developers often is not that the game keeps getting played, it's that it turns into something that they did not originally want to be
Endorsing.
morphed into.
Sure.
Like if a modding group got a hold of the ability to host servers and change assets within the game, like from StarCraft to Mario, like this
That's a risk.
is a brand risk at that point. So I understand that. I understand that aspect from the developers, but also
Putting Super Mario characters in Star Wars would be bad.
Sure.
Yeah.
But also I can draw Mario on my fridge, and the fridge manufacturer doesn't get to take the fridge away from me. You know what I mean? Like this is the whole point, is I own the product. I can do with it what I like. Same idea with like Louis Rossmann on YouTube, is he's always promoting the idea of I own a product. I want to be able to fix it myself. I don't want it to be gate-kept behind. Exactly. So it's the same concept for both movements, and they're both working together now, actually, which is kind of cool.
They are.
And yet they are. So
is that iFixit then? Is it, because I know iFixit was really big in the movement, but I may be wrong.
I'm not super sure how much they're into.
No,
they're just a proponent.
They are a proponent of it. They are definitely for the right to repair, and making sure that because that's what they do, right? That's their entire business model, is repairing things outside of having to go through the manufacturer, doing it yourself, which is awesome. But I don't know. I think that totally just lost my train of thought. I started thinking about iFixit and my kit that I have at home, and how often I use it.
iFixit is mainly asking about how, if iFixit was the main proponent behind, because we were talking about the self-repair movement, and also Stop Killing Games, and all about like replacing versus being able to work with what you have, modding, right? So we were talking about iFixit's involvement. If iFixit was a driving force behind the Stop Killing Games movement, and you were saying no.
I mean, I don't know if they are super invested now, but ever since like the Stop Killing Games movement has gained some notoriety, I think that a lot of these other movements that are similar in scope and idea should also kind of try to join forces together if possible. Not to start like muting each other by like, hey, mine's more important than yours. Yours is nothing compared to what we're having to deal with. Like I have to fix people's trucks and trailers out here so that John Deere can't have a monopoly on the equipment or whatever it is. Why do we care about your little games? Like it's all arguments that could be made, but it's distilling, and it's making the entire premise of it kind of wash away, when in reality, like these are things that everybody cares about, and they do matter. Especially coming from me and probably you and probably Nick, as gamers who've been gaming our entire life, thinking about the next generation and what they're going to have to deal with when it comes to their games, like the games that they grew up on. Are they going to be able to play the game that they played when they were 5 to 7 years old that really stuck with them and they can always reference and love? Can they play that when they're in their teens or when they're in their 20s?
Yeah, I think that kind of goes, that's the whole argument. I think even here about shared media versus owned media, that when you are leveraging or moving toward cloud-based services that are managed by others, you are also giving up your ability to make decisions about that platform to others versus physical media. I think that's kind of an unfortunate truth that we're all really having to struggle with, is that in the history of time, when you were looking at originally how content was distributed, data was insanely hard, large amounts of data to be given to others, right?
Yeah.
So we moved kind of from the idea of vinyl to cassettes to VHS to then CDs and DVDs, where we almost had a renaissance, so to speak, of being able to put large amounts of data on small platforms, and then because of that, then we could have physical media everywhere, everything from
Right.
CDs to movies to things like that. When you bought it, you owned it. As long as you have a reader, you can have it, right? I think circa 2000, 2010, when things started moving off of physical media on cloud driven, where then you have a server that can then go, and the internet has evolved enough and matured enough that you can deliver that content to people immediately. Then you didn't have to have, our home was the guys who had 800 DVDs and Blu-rays, right? The the us to be able to effectively offload all of that data onto a server, insane lot of data to manage.
Right.
I think even going through our own FQS of trying to adopt data, we found how hard that is.
Absolutely.
I think that we have kind of traded off the inconvenience of that for the convenience of accessibility. And because we've traded off that convenience of accessibility, we've also given up the decisions of what we get to do with that data. And I think
Yeah.
that's ultimately where the crux of the conversation becomes with as to what is considered ownership then. If I'm giving up everything for the sake of a fee and convenience, what does that ultimately mean? I can still play Armored Fist on a computer, right? But I can't guarantee that Armored Fist 1 is on Steam. And I also can't guarantee that Armored Fist will always stay on Steam if Steam decides that they lose the licensing that they have as a cloud provider to all the Novalogic games.
That's
And then
fair.
all the Novalogic games disappear, right? Where at what point does it become that now,
It's really tough.
my fee is dedicated because my interest is in Armored Fist, but I bet you that neither one of you guys have played Armored Fist, right?
Never
it's
heard of it.
very fringe. Like I was a war sim freak, like in the day. So that's, I guess, where I look at it, is that it's like we're trading this convenience for a cloud provider to handle all of that stuff. Because of that, there's tough decisions that they have to make and that they have to work out that ultimately affect us. So I think that's kind of where it evolves from the old, LimeWire days to like LimeWire days where things were self-hosted by
Yeah.
others to able to work. Or maybe that's it. Maybe that's the evolution. Maybe going back to what I was talking about, it's like an open source server, so to speak. It's almost like a community plex
Yeah, like
that
where you've got a couple of like people that are
games.
able to afford maybe hosting a large server or something like that are just more or less good Samaritans willing to give that
Yeah, that you have
bandwidth
it, that
available.
then you don't, that it's, I almost say I feel bad that I feel like we're building like AWS all over again, but it's
An
essentially you're
open source
building
AWS.
essentially that
Isn't
then
that just the original internet?
yes, I mean we're basically building the original internet back
Yeah,
again. But the idea is that you'd have almost some sort of open source
like a peer-to-peer kind of connection where you can.
open source
It's
peer to peer. If you
yeah,
if I wanted to go play, this is a bad example, but I'm going to use it anyways because this game has kept rebirthing itself over and over again. If I wanted to go play Age of Empires 2 with my friends, the original OG version, right? Like there should be a way that I should be able to host a server somewhere of Age of Empires so that other people can do Age of Empire lands, right? That is not reliant on other organizations in order to be able to go do that.
mhm.
I say that's a bad example because Age of Empires actually has a extremely like froth crazy community of people who like love playing Age of Empires, and now there's like tournaments and people who are like dedicated to it. But it's almost that's what it took for people to kind of take it and to rebuild it. Like
Yeah.
there maybe I don't know, maybe
It's a
there's
tough
just
thing
a
to
line.
answer.
Yeah,
It's really tough because you got to look at it from both perspectives. You got to look at it from the game developer's perspective, who needs to hold on to their property and make sure that that's not changed and give them a bad face
yeah,
moving forward. And also the amount of money that they may or may not be hemorrhaging by continuing, like a game like Destiny. If I continue it for another 2 decades, how much money am I hemorrhaging by allowing that player base that's just slowly decreasing to continue playing the game?
maybe it's a copyright thing. Maybe the conversation is around uh maybe it's around Maybe it's around a copyright release where it's like, oh, after a certain point, it's almost considered a game is considered public domain.
Mm.
To the point, like there's a lot of people who go and
Interesting.
archive games, right? And there's a lot of people who archive the internet, and a lot of people argue that internet and game archival was at some point considered public domain. So if you look at like a lot of the games of the 80s and 90s, they are free to play or free to access, and people have made emulators or people have made stuff that you can pretty much download and you can play a lot of those games without, if you, as long as you're not really being blatant about selling it, like it's for free, then it's okay. But maybe the conversation is more about like public domain, that it's at what point is the game then considered quote unquote
In the hands of the user.
in the hands of the user, that this is released for public domain, and then we as the developer of the company have hands off. We no longer have any repercussions for anything that goes out there. It's not associated with our brand. It's up to the people who like to play the game to support the game. That's kind of what ended up happening with Squadrons. But I don't know whether or not Squadrons, the LucasArts gave them the ability to maintain.
I was curious about that when you mentioned other games, and you're like, oh, well, if the copyright shifts from one holder to a different holder, it's like Bart Simpson. I remember that game used to be held by one game developer, and then that game developer no longer holds that IP or right to produce games for that IP.
Yeah.
And so, like, what do you do with the game? Is that game just no longer considered canon, quote unquote, for The Simpsons? Like, if it was a Star Wars game, for instance.
Sure.
At what point does the game no longer considered canon? It's just like what happened with Battlefront 2, the original Battlefront and Battlefront 2.
Well,
Different. Might be a little bit going into a different topic.
that's a can of worms. Yeah, well, no, but I mean, the idea was that it was ran by, oh my God, I cannot think of the name of this company. I see Pandemic Studios. So they did the original Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2. People loved Battlefront 2.
Absolutely.
I think there's still places that they have servers that can be hosted.
There are. I've played them.
And then people bought, and then someone made a remastered version of it, which is okay. Not great.
EA.
It's okay. No, it was some other company.
Really?
Yeah.
You can also spin up your own servers for it.
Battlefront. See, but that's what I'm saying. Maybe that's where it goes to. Is that it's like you could spin up your own server, kind of like a Minecraft server that you just go and say.
It's the perfect example of stop killing games.
Yeah. Is that you have a Minecraft server.
Minecraft?
In my opinion. Or Minecraft too, yeah.
Yeah. You can go and spin up your own server. You can install it. You can put it on whatever, and then people can go and play it. If you wanted to do Battlefront 2, great. If you wanted to go do the Destiny, cool. If you wanted to go do Fury, or like, I'm trying to think of really old school 90s games.
I mean, we could go even more severe with it. We can be like, okay, well, World of Warcraft just went bankrupt. They're closing servers right now.
Are they?
No, but
theoretically.
What if they did?
Like, my God.
What if they did? What riots would occur if we the gamers were not still allowed to continue playing the game that we love at that point? I've never played World of Warcraft, but I know so many people that would live and die off of that game.
There are some people that have characters that are older than like people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that game's been going for
it's that concept.
a minute.
It's just a matter of protecting the end user and the person that's purchased the product, and making sure that legislation in the future is kind of pushed and moved around that idea. It's really hard to come up with that kind of stuff and find a way to make it so that the people that are developing the games are okay with it. There's tons of lobbying that's happening to stop that from occurring, but it's already started passing in places like the EU. Like, they've already got over 1 million signatures, which got it into Parliament for the EU, and now they're looking into passing more laws like that in California, for instance.
Sure.
Right now. So as soon as these governments, and I'm not necessarily a huge fan of regulation, but when it comes to predatory practices, which I think that the developers are kind of utilizing in a way to save their own cost, I think that it's incredibly important for regulation to be put in place and at a government level, possibly, to stop them from cutting off games that people may love.
Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is our end of episode 3.
Episode 3. Yeah.
We made it to the mountaintop yet again. We'll be back next week doing more podcasting things,
That's right.
right? Talking about more topics and more things that we find that are important to us and ultimately, hopefully, to some of you who are watching. But thank you guys so much. I'm Cody.
I'm Garrett.
It was a pleasure to have you guys. We'll see you guys next week.
Yeah. See you guys. Thank you.
Thanks. See ya.